Hey guys, I thought I would throw up a quick video just to go over what's going to be happening forecast-wise kind of for the rest of this year until the New Year's and even kind of into January. So you've probably been aware of the fact that Venus has been retrograde, and we have Venus retrogrades. We have issues pop up in our relationships with people, whether they're clients, whether they're, love life themed relationships. And as I was looking at the ephemeris, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, this is just like we're going to have princesses trapped in high towers and waiting for their suitor with their lacy wrists on their waxy forehead. And yet off in the distance, heading towards the sunset, they'll see their suitor army crawling away. And they'll realize he's a robber and a thief. Like on his back, he'll be, carrying things with him, it feels like. It just feels like this will have been November in particular, and actually really the whole fall, a time of reevaluating our relationships, and kind of, it's been a little, almost there's a greedy quality, like having too many options, multiplicity of options, and wanting all of the options, and wanting to keep all of our stuff secret to ourselves, So whether that's the truth for you, if you've seen in your love life, if you're openly dating in this modern dating world and you've been dating more than one person and suddenly you found out that the person you're dating is also seeing someone else, I've had that happen tons lately with clients and friends. And myself. So it's just that's a theme right now. When we're talking about what we'll see right now, So Friday, Venus, she's our planet that has to do with our love lives. She's the mirror. So what Venus is, let me explain very quickly. It helps you get into the frame of mind of Mars and Venus. Mars, first house, Aries, is from a personal perspective. If you think of yourself when you are doing your Mars, it's when you're in your body and you're going to stand up and you're going to walk out your door and you're going to go do something, okay? You're looking at everything out of your own two eyeballs, your own personal perspective. And Mars, of course, does tie into our sexuality or our anger or our animation. It's all of it. It's just how you personally, just like Aries, how you do things. And it's not about thinking first, how are other people going to perceive me doing things? How are they going to see me doing things? It's just, I'm going to go do something. Venus, on the other hand, is recognizing that, oh yeah, when I go do something, someone else sees me. And if I do it differently, I might get a different reaction from that person. So Venus is a social, conscious archetype. She's the part of us that we attach to our love life because we learn how to wear makeup, dress pretty, whatever, use smooth, cool lines because we want to get the ladies. All those things that we do are Venus. They are ways that we can affect our behavior in order to get what we want, okay? So she can be manipulative. That's something to bear in mind. Mars, on the other hand, just pure Mars is just really not even that bright. Mars just is unconscious. It just does. And I firmly believe that I think of Mars as an unconscious archetype, to be, by the way. Or it's just not self-aware, I guess. Whereas Venus is self-aware. Okay, so we've had Venus as she slowed down. She was a 10 of Scorpio, which is still in that first 1/3 of the 30 degrees of Scorpio. So it's a very Scorpio area. She slows down and she retrograde, stations retrograde. So it's very Scorpio Venus. She's scooting back into Libra, and she's like, goes from this sign that has to do with possible betrayals. It's where we hand over our trust to another person. We trust this other person with the fact that we have feelings for them, we love them, and we're totally exposed, and they could just say, I don't want you, and they could betray us or leave us, abandon us. It's wherever your Pluto's at. By the way, look at your Pluto in your chart. Where does it fall? That is where your dragons lie, however you say it. I forget the proper grammar. And Pluto for you is where you hold your emotional trauma. It's where you faced fated events and past incarnations that you couldn't overcome, or ones that were someone dies on you. A lot of times they have to do with death of those that we love, or our power being stripped from us by someone else or by authority figures, that kind of thing, whatever. So, but if you have a Pluto that is in a house that's very personal, or one that you think of like fourth house, or something, or like seventh house, one of the angular houses, then it's going to show up in your relationships, fears of intimacy. Anyway, as Venus scoots back, and then she moved back into Libra. She was at the end of Libra. She'll station direct at 25. So that's the end of Libra, the last 5 degrees. So that part of Libra has more of a Gemini feel. Okay, it's how do we do relationships as far as what are our mutual understandings that we have about our relationship? What do you understand? What do I understand? What's our story? What's the story I tell myself? What's the story you tell yourself about us? Are we together? Are we a couple? Are we just friends? Are we la 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 la, right? Like, what are we? If you're not with someone, then you would have been experiencing kind of, what do I want? What's my story? Or why am I not with someone? Like, what's wrong with me? Or what, you could be asking all of these sorts of questions. What are my patterns? All right. So as she stations direct, which she'll do on Friday, I gotta pull up my ephemeris here. Grab my notes too, so I can see what I wrote things down. I always forget things, I go all over the place. So as she stations direct, though, she'll be forming at the same time. We've got Uranus, of course, is in Aries. At the very end of Aries, just kind of deep, moving back to, we'll get back, 28 of Aries, then we'll station direct back into Taurus and won't be back into Aries for a long time. Like, long time, right? So it makes its way all the way around. So, point is, opposition to Venus. Where is it that we're still feeling a little bit like we have some old patterns in our relationships about maybe how we communicate with our partners, what it is we tell them, what we don't tell them, secrets that we might have, or what we tell ourselves about our relationship, the truth about our relationship, right? Remember, we've got Neptune at 13, 14 degrees or so. Let's see, she'll be, I always say she for Neptune, it's he. Sorry, Neptune, don't smite me. Neptune's at 13, and we'll station direct, and we'll get to 14 at the end of December. But anyway, 13 degrees, and the United States is a 13-degree Cancer country. It's been kind of quiet, even though we've had elections and stuff, and that's because Neptune, we're being trined by Neptune. There's a dismantlement quality, a weakening. At any rate, that Neptune becomes interesting in my mind once we move into December, because that's when we have these Sagittarius planets. You see Venus. Or not Venus, rather, I'm sorry. You see, what was it? No, not Sagittarius. Yes, Sagittarius. We have Jupiter, which is in Sag, and then we have Mars. Mars is in Pisces, which we see after this. It's like this week, moves into Pisces, and then Mars will be forming a conjunction to Neptune. Mars and Pisces, as is especially the beginning of Pisces, the first 10 degrees, is a very Piscean Mars. What am I supposed to do in this situation? How am I going to get the energy to take action and make this thing happen? Do I feel a little bit weak and like a victim? Do I need someone to help me? Am I scared to confront, my partner? Okay. And that vibe, especially because Neptune's also in Pisces. It's the ruler. It's a very Piscean time. That couple of weeks in November, very foggy, fuzzy, wuzzy time. Also, you have Mercury station retrograde on the 17th. So this weekend to me feels a little bit like a shitstorm, not a shitstorm. It's more like feels like you've wandered out somewhere where there's quicksand and you didn't realize you wandered out in it, and you're, I don't know. It just feels like things are going to just kind of blow away, or something it's a beautiful flower, dried flower, and you go outside and all of a sudden it just disintegrates. It just has kind of that feel to it to me, and maybe I'm being negative. But fantasies and illusions that we've held, I feel like those are going to be the things that are like, oh, geez, I thought this was something totally different than what it is. And I think with Mercury in Sagittarius, I consider these to be opposite archetypes. Right? Gemini, Sagittarius. I think of Mercury as Gemini. So it's like the personal perspective. What is the sort of, what's the story that we're talking about right now? How is this going to affect the way you understand? How's your brain working? What does your Mercury look like relative to a Mercury being in Sagittarius? I have a Mercury in Virgo. I'm like, yeah, I don't really love that, right? It's like, was that the truth? Maybe it wasn't the truth. Maybe I overanalyzed things. Maybe, yada, yada. So point being, with it retrograde in Sag, themes have to do with the truth, belief. And you can have, with Sagittarius, over-optimism. We can be naively believing in whatever we're being sold. So if Mr. Suitor came to our castle and was like, you are the most beautiful princess I have ever laid my eyes upon. I'm going to rescue you and take you away from here. Pretty sure there's a really good chance you're going to find out that he was full of shit towards the, the last week or so in November, maybe even into December. And definitely by the time we have the full moon on the 22nd, I think it's 22nd or so, it's at 0 degrees of Cancer. That to me feels like a time when, especially because we've got Mercury at 9 of Sag, along with Jupiter at 9 of Sag together on a full moon. And that degree, 9 degrees, last day of the year is 9 degrees of Capricorn. And there's a quality here feeling like, I don't know how to describe this. It's almost like what are we doing? Like, what is this? What's the truth here? And there will be this conflict between this need to know who are we to each other, almost this like urgent need, combined with the Piscean, the Mars and Pisces, which at that point will have moved into the decan of Pisces that has to, it's Cancer, so it's very emotionally reactive. You hurt me. I'm a victim. How dare you? So I feel like we're going to be seeing people, again, the damsels, it just feels a little bit sad to me at the beginning of, now I know Jupiter is like optimistic, wonderful, great energy. Sagittarius, especially Jupiter and Sag, but it can also just over inflame things. It can make them bigger than what they even are. So if it can make you really excited about something that is a pile of shit. I'm using a lot of naughty words today. That's Sagittarius, right? I'm just doing it in honor of Mercury and Sag, and Mercury in Scorpio, excrement. So point being, this to me feels like a time where we're really going to be diving into what the truth is. And because Mercury, as it's retrograding, scoots back into Scorpio, and it gets at the beginning of December on the 2nd, we have it at 29 of Scorp. That's like Scorpio full blast, okay? And gets all the way to 27 of Scorpio on the 7th of December. That's when it stations direct at 27. So that, at that decan of Scorpio, you've moved into, that's going to be the Cancer part of Scorpio. So again, emotional, not necessarily rational, but more emotionally kind of reactive, being ruled by a Pluto in Capricorn, which is then being ruled by a Saturn in Capricorn at the beginning of Capricorn. So that Pluto in Capricorn has moved into sort of the kind of the territory. It's the end of the Taurus territory. So it's kind of stuck. And it's going to be moving into the Virgo territory. Now let's fix that, which is kind of, we've been holding on to the past, and now let's kind of work on fixing that, which is broken. That'll be happening this next year. So anyway, point is, I feel like with this Saturn, because the Saturn that we'll have, it's at the beginning of Capricorn. It's very Capricorn-y. It's going to be about responsibility. I've been saying this to a lot of clients lately. Where have you gotten yourself into a situation where at the beginning you knew what it was? I told you I was a snake before you picked me up. So you can't be mad at me when I bite you. Right? It's a classic line that a lot of guys use to get out of their being responsible for hurting people. So be careful. And a lot of times I feel like during this phase, there's going to be a lot of liars, people who are thieves, people who are cheating other people who are just like trying to get away with getting what they want, regardless of whether it's beneficial for. It's like there's two different stories. And well, this is my story. I don't know why you think that. And she's like, wait, what? That stuff's going to be happening a ton. Now, I think that by January, I have more notes here, but I'm just going to jump ahead because I have readings to do. But I think by January, the good news is, let me pull up that ephemeris here. I don't have it. I wasn't prepared. January, it's like the second week in January. So around, I want to say the 7th was what I was looking at. Let me see here. Get you the exact dates. You can play around with this. Look at the ephemeris. Look at how it affects your chart. Second week in January, around the 8th, January 8th. We have Mercury in Capricorn, Venus in Sagittarius. So Mercury, our minds and sort of the way we're processing things is going to be a bit more focused on, okay, let's get down to business. What are we, so since I've been talking about relationships, it's going to kind of be like, what is this going to be? If you've broken up with someone in December, it's going to be, what do I really want? Especially with Venus and Sag, there's a great time to vision board, right? Beginning of the new year anyway. Great time to sort of come up with what I really dream about. What's the type of relationship I would really, really, really like? Even more so, how can I improve myself? Where am I constantly sabotaging myself over and over again and bringing in the same kind of people, do some self-reflection. Take some time. There's no hurry. You're going to feel like there's a hurry though, because you'll have Mars in Aries. You're going to have Jupiter. Jupiter is of course in Sagittarius. And then with Venus in Sag, it's going to feel like, oh, I'm so excited about like this new thing that I want to move towards. But at the same time, you may feel as though, maybe I need to take a second and plan. Don't just jump from one thing to another. Don't rebound in January, please. Because there's a good chance if you're with someone or if you've got multiple options right now, one of those things ends, if not more than one. And there may still be someone else hanging out there that's from the past. Don't jump into something in January. That's what I'm trying to say, okay? The Mars that's in Aries, it's at the beginning of Aries, so it'll be really Ariesy. It's like, oh, I'm so sick of that big loser. Got rid of him or got rid of her. She's that big baby that I had to go rescue all the time out of the tower. I'm going to go on my own journey, my own adventure. I'm going to go get what I want. Kind of can have this vibe. I actually like that vibe. The vibe of I'm going to go do what I want to go do right now, rather than focusing so much so on like relationship per se, but more like, okay, what are my dreams and my visions for my life? How do I feel like I can grow and expand? What have I learned from last year, from 2018? So it does feel like a time where it's a good time to be open to new ideas, feel that fire, that inspiration of Aries and Sagittarius and Jupiter and Sagittarius. I mean, you got Mars in Aries, that's a strong Mars. You got your Venus in Sag ruled by a Jupiter in Sag, so it's a strongly Sagittarian Venus, but she can be a little naive, and she can also be like very spontaneous, like, ooh, let's go on a trip right now in the middle of the night and go to the train station. And I don't know, just be careful. Don't jump into things. Use that energy to plan with that Mercury and Scorpio for this year and for what you really, really want. And then by the time, I don't know, the end of January, you've got an Aquarius sun. That definitely feels a bit more like we'll be getting a bit more jazzed up about, going out and taking action. I also would wait. Uranus will station direct on, 7th, around the same time. Wait till Uranus, I kind of feel like Uranus needs to get the heck out of Aries. I'm waiting until March. I'm not getting in any relationships until March, because that's also when my progressed moon, gets out of the 12th house, finally. So, okay, if you have questions, you can let me know. Other than that, also come to my website. If you want to get a reading, I do birth chart readings and forecasts. So do relationship readings as well. They're much more comprehensive than this. This is just kind of me riffing. So my website's moderncosmic.com. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye-bye.